Hello, I'm Alicia Davis,
And I'm Stacy Watson.
and we are executive coaches at Transformative Leadership Strategies. And this is, gosh, we've been doing a multi-part series on our webinar, Stace, on managing challenging feelings and cultivating courageous conversations. And we're almost at the end of
Yeah, I
our
think
series
today
here.
might be our last one for the series. And today we're actually having the conversation, right? You
That's
might
right.
remember last week we didn't utter a word in our conversation. We focused
Well,
on the
we
internal,
uttered a word in our
we uttered,
conversation.
we had a conversation about preparing for that, courageous conversation. And so today we're actually talking about what does it mean to be having the conversation and
That's
what
right.
does it mean to be courageous or brave while doing that.
That's right. And I think really the key components that we've been talking about up until this point has really been about noticing how we are, our
Hmm.
feelings, our thoughts, our intentions, our stories, and being as uh, open and vulnerable as possible, which is
Hmm.
the most probably the most challenging part when we're feeling a big feeling, right? Which is what we've been talking about. So this how do we actually speak it? How do we put the words out there? How do we engage? Really takes practice
Yeah, it really does. And intention, right? I mean,
and
I
intention.
think I think that's so much of what we're talking about through this entire series is just the importance of noticing and really paying attention and then having intention, right, about how it is we want to proceed with whatever it is. We in our webinar, we have a quote by the Dalai Lama, and it says, when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new.
Right.
And I just think that's a really profound statement because I do think often when we're going into these challenging situations, our mind is so full of what we want to say,
That's right.
the points we want to make. And I think it is important to be clear about what the objectives are and the things that are important to convey. It's just finding that balance between having that clarity and remaining open, right? And that's what
That's
we
right.
call kind of being actively engaged, because to be actively engaged, I have to be open to what you are saying, and I can have an expectation that you are open to what I am saying. That's what active engagement is.
That's right. And asking questions. And I think that a lot of times when we go into these conversations that we want to make our points to your
Yes.
point, right? And the thing about this, like a lot of what we're talking about isn't really a whole lot different than conscious communication, right? And intentional
Hmm.
communication.
Definitely.
It's what it's more about is staying present and going deeper, like being
Hmm.
willing to explore through questioning yourself, through questioning the other person. And I think the really key thing that we have talked about in the past, Stace, has been that I think we talked about it last week, is that you are present, you are there to learn, right? I think it was Brene Brown we quoted last week, right? It's like, I'm here to get it right, not to be right. Like you're
Yes.
listening to understand the other person, not just to hear them.
That's
And,
right. That's
right?
right.
And that's what
Yeah.
I think really makes the distinction between what we're talking about in terms of these courageous conversations and just having, just having an everyday kind of conversation.
Yeah, that's right. And I think another piece that's also worth mentioning is that often these kinds of conversations, they're not necessarily, we're not having them with the purpose of having final outcome always. Sometimes it's really just trying to better understand and explore someone else's perspective, to be able to share your own perspective. And so oftentimes they're not one and done, right? And so part of what we
Right.
talk about with these is the importance of how you close them, because you're not necessarily closing them to be closed forever, right? It's
Right.
ending it for today. And so if you're in the process of having that conversation and this is not going to be the last time we need to touch on this topic, it can be really powerful to just acknowledge that, to appreciate the fact that, we both showed up, we both did our best,
Right.
Whatever we were able to accomplish, we were able to accomplish, and that we make some kind of plan to circle back in a way that feels, safe and empowering and respectful, so that we can keep the conversation going. And I think many times we find that the more we are able to do that, the more natural it can be to have those courageous conversations, because we've
That's
set a
right.
precedent now, right, for how we can do it.
That's right. And what you just said is so true. Like just being able to acknowledge that we both showed up, that we both sat through the difficulty, if it felt difficult, if we had disagreement, that we were able to do that in, like you said, in a respectful way. And even if it gets messy, right? Even something like it can just be super empowering to just say, you know what? Yeah, this feels messy. This feels really hard. Let's take a breath. Maybe we need to take a pause. Maybe we need to come back to it another day. And we are committing to come back to it. And that's
That's
really
right.
what you're saying, is that it is that commitment that we will keep working through this, because it really matters.
Right. So I know that many of you who watch our videos every week are leaders, and you are in the midst of so many courageous conversations with people in your organization, with your stakeholders, boards, all of it, right? Where there are decisions being made about how we're going to proceed, so much uncertainty about what the world even will look like as we go into the
Yep.
fall and the winter. So, it's just been our hope that this can be helpful in terms of how you're thinking about having some of those conversations, because they're not easy often. And please know that if there's anything we can do to support you, that's really what we're here for.
That's right. And feel free to email us, info@tlstransforms.com. You can also go check out our website, tlstransforms.com. So thank you so much for listening, and we hope to hear from you soon. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.